As of, I believe, yesterday, Alabama set an official visit with Caleb Holt. And the reason I wanted to kind of mention Caleb Holt by himself, because we're going to talk all about Alabama basketball recruiting, but I wanted to mention Caleb Holt by himself first, because Caleb Holt, and I did some research on this one, but Caleb Holt is number 4 ranked in the class for this upcoming season. He's from Alabama, from Huntsville. However, he's going to play at Prolific Prep. You may be aware that Prolific Prep is where Aiden Sherrill went and played. We've had multiple players play at Prolific Prep. So that is, a very common connection that we've had with the University of Alabama here recently. He is the highest ranked recruit from the state of Alabama. From what I can tell, looking back in past recruiting rankings, the only other top 5 national player, Caleb Holt being number 4 in the nation, the only other top 5 national player was in 1999 from Grisham, Marvin Stone, that ended up playing at Kentucky and then Louisville. That was the last time the University of Alabama, or the state of Alabama, had a top 5 national player come out of the state. So it's not an over-exaggeration when I say that Caleb Holt is going to be the highest coveted, highest ranked recruit for the state of Alabama. Both Alabama and Auburn will do their best to try to get him on campus. Some of the On3 guys have written articles. I know that a previous or recent article was written, and he talked specifically about wanting to stay in state potentially, and that Alabama and Auburn were 2 of the first schools that were on him and have been on him since 8th grade. So this is a situation where I would expect that this is Alabama and Auburn, against the field. I would expect that Alabama and Auburn are going to be 2 of the top teams that go after him. He's also setting up official visits to Kentucky and Kansas. Obviously, with him being in the top 5, expect anybody that has a significant NIL pool, anybody that has significant playing time, to be an option for him, right? He is going to have the pick of what he wants. I will say something that really does give me some hope when I think about the University of Alabama and Holt's potential, fit. A couple of things. You may be aware that I previously mentioned that Nate Oates was coaching in the practices for the under-19 USA basketball team. Caleb Holt was on that team. He made the official team. He didn't just make the workouts, but he made the team and ended up going and playing over on the team that ended up winning gold. Over the course of the 7 games, he shot 13 of 25 from 3 at 52%. He had 24 rebounds, 15 assists to 19 steals with just 7 turnovers. So keep in mind he had a little better than 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio with more steals than assists, and he had 19 steals to just 8 fouls, right? He was absolutely phenomenal. He had 4 games in double figures, with one of those games hitting 20 points and another at 18 points, right? So from an offensive perspective, he is an absolute elite scoring weapon that can do it at all levels of the floor. He has a decent mid-range game. He has obviously a really, really good three-point shot that we talked about. 2 of the games, he went 5 for 7 and 4 for 6, so he is a guy that can really get hot from deep. Obviously, we know that with how Alabama likes to play, that is a huge positive. But the other thing that you have to think about and that we have to talk about is those 19 steals, right? And it's something that he also mentioned in his article when he was specifically talked to about what he wants to be able to have in his future team. Is defense is something that he specifically mentioned. I think that with how Nate Oates likes to play his guards and the ability to, at the end of the day, a lot of people talk about Nate Oates as an offensive coach. And for good reason, right? There is an offensive system that is very well known when you're talking Nate Oates. However, for those of us that are well aware, Nate Oates really, some of his best teams have had top 5 defenses. Think about those Herb Jones team. We just talked about Herb getting his extension in the NBA. The Herb Jones team, the Brandon Miller team, both of those teams had elite defenses. Those are often led by one of your best players. When you can have one of your best players locked in on that defensive end, it brings up all the ships, right? It brings up all the other players around him because they see the best player being locked in on the defensive end. I think that a guy like Caleb Holt being able to defend at that level, get the type of steals at that level, be the type of really possible lockdown defender that he can be to go with that scoring threat, I think that he would just be an absolutely phenomenal fit for the University of Alabama. He has been on campus many times for unofficial visits. He has officially set his official visit. As of today, he's the only official visitor for October the 3rd. He is officially set his official visit for October the 3rd. It's the weekend of I believe it's the Alabama Vanderbilt game, maybe. But he has officially set his visit for October the 3rd. Like I said, as of this moment, he's the only official visitor for that weekend. But like I said, this, in my mind, is the biggest recruit for the state of Alabama. As I previously mentioned, he is the highest ranked recruit in the state of Alabama. And I think that from an Alabama and Auburn recruiting standpoint, he is number one on both boards. He's the number one guy in the state of Alabama, and they will do their absolute best to not have him leave the state. Right? I think a huge piece of who potentially we could have to help him not leave the state is a guy like Preston Murphy. Again, somebody else that Caleb Holt has talked about at length about how him and Preston Murphy are good friends. They talk about things that are not related to basketball. Caleb talked about how he drives a Tesla. Murphy very famously drives a Cybertruck. They communicate and they are, friendly with each other outside of just the game of basketball. Obviously, Alabama is going to try to work the relationships as much as humanly possible. Obviously, them having been on him for many years now, we think that he fits the system very well. He visits us on the 3rd before the next week he visits Auburn. Obviously, Alabama will be trying to get the best impression that they can possibly get for Caleb Holt and see if they can lock this one down. From what I have heard, it sounds like he's going to be committing in a December-January timeframe. So this is one that I expect to be going on here through the basketball season until we get to maybe conference play. I would expect that he specifically also mentioned seeing how the coaches are playing their freshmen. I think that with this recruit, this is going to go down to the wire. So I am very curious to see what's going to happen. This is not one that you can call at this moment, but I do like where Alabama's chances are as we sit today.